When last we left our fearless explorers, they had given a report on the mission that they couldn't remember, and Lieutenant Pill put in for vacation time, and when they wouldn't give it to him, he took his vacation time anytime. Anyway, so, it's funny, apparently Tim had planned, if Pill had showed up at the psych evaluation, they were going to try and implant a tracker in him. So he ducked out at just the right time. He would have had a tracker implanted in him. I didn't know that. I just was like, okay, he's going between buildings now. That's where he's going to disappear. So, the characters are summoned to a briefing for their next mission. And Commandant, what was his name? Commandant?
Smythe?
Albion.
No, Albion. Captain Smythe.
Captain Smythe.
Yeah.
Commandant.
Yeah, this is the Commandant. This is the high up guy.
Yeah.
They're getting a briefing from, high level, not just the captain. And also, there's a new person there at the briefing, a man by the name of Mr. Black,
Mr. Black.
who is with Human Resources.
Ah. Everyone loves human resources.
And Commandant Albion kind of winks at Human Resources. He's not really with Human Resources, but whatever. He asks the party, what information they've managed to glean out of Lieutenant Pill. And the party was like, we were supposed to find out information.
Remember the first briefing?
Yeah. And also, for some reason, thinking that they were not supposed to be asking Pill questions. I don't know why not. But anyway, they hadn't asked Pill a lot of questions. Yeah, they tried to report to Mr. Black as best they could about, what they discovered about Pill. And there was some stuff they found out. Mostly about his obsessions with destroyers and things like that.
Oh, did they read out your log that said I had completed my mission?
No, that was heavily encrypted. I can't crack that encryption. So anyway, Mr. Black leaves a little bit disappointed at the lack of information about Lieutenant Pill. Mm-hmm. And then they start into the briefing. Commandant Albion sort of hands off to Captain Smythe, and they do the briefing on the party's next target. Since the party is basically, this is almost like part 2 of the adventure, and honestly, it just turned out that way. I had planned out like 99% of the details of this adventure before we did Tim's adventure, and as we're going through Tim's adventure, it was just like click, click, click. This is going to be part 2. Wow.
So part 2 is Flint Daniels and he's dealing with therapy.
Well, Flint wasn't there for part 1, so he has no idea how dangerous the Epiphany is.
He's just going to want to talk to him.
Yeah. So anyway.
Ooh, and this time the Flex officer is playing, what was Pill's role again?
Science. Yeah. So Hawking will be doing science officer role. Anyway, so the briefing is that since they went over the records and data and stuff that the party had brought back from Epiphany Station, they had gone through the data that their sitting Duck-class ships had gathered and reevaluated the importance of various things that they'd seen. And there was this one planet in particular that had been, when the sitting Duck got there, they discovered it was emitting a very weak, faint signal, and it had seemed uninteresting at the time. But the signal seemed to share some patterns with the Epiphany signal, and so suddenly that cranks this planet's importance way up. And the party are the Epiphany experts, so they're going to send the crew on a follow-up mission to this other planet that may also have something to do with the Epiphany. The planet's name is Doria GB7, also known as the Golf Ball, because it
I wish it was named Titleist.
Titleist?
That's the name. That's the common brand of golf ball.
Anyway, so they show some exquisitely rendered images of Planet Golf Ball, and it does look an awful lot like a golf ball. Tim was like, "Oh, I wasn't expecting it would be heavily cratered," but the quote-unquote craters are extremely uniform in size and arrangement. It looks like a golf ball. But overall, the planet looks like a desert wasteland, a lifeless, waterless.
Mountainless.
There are some mountains, but they're just sort of like crammed in between the big dishes. Because that's what they are. It turns out the planet is almost completely covered in giant radio dishes.
Which makes Flint Daniels very excited because, he's like all about communication and species getting along, so he's like, this is like the ultimate planet.
Mm-hmm. Except the place has been dead for 1 million years. Indications are that there was life there once, but 1 million years ago something happened. and the planet has been basically dead since. There's no oxygen in the atmosphere, and there's no water. So, their mission goals...
Corporation Incorporated has already been here.
A million years ago. No. Anyway, their mission goals. One is determine this planet's relationship with the Epiphany, if any. You know, there's this signal and it's got suspicious traces. Figure out what's going on with that. And two, sort of secondarily, or whatever, why is it dead? You know, what happened?
Surprise, please.
Because these both seem like very important questions now. And so the party sets off. There is the opportunity to requisition special equipment, and they are told that even though the Corporation Incorporated researchers haven't finished figuring out this memory erasure handheld device, they are willing, since this is another Epiphany planet potentially,
Right.
they're willing to allow that to be requisitioned, even though it hasn't been, they haven't fully figured it out yet. And in fact, they've managed to enhance it.
Ooh.
Even though they haven't figured it out, they have built a second casing, a plastic casing that snaps around the thing that has a timer that will push the trigger button. So if you want, you can set a timer on the thing to go off, so you can not have it in your hands when you fire it.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, retrofitting highly advanced technology like that is a tricky thing, but they managed.
Just some gum and some duct tape.
Yeah.
3D printer.
So anyway, I think Antpele took that, so the party does have that thing.
Never know when you need to erase
Yeah.
all your memories.
Yeah.
And return back empty-handed.
It may not be available in future missions, but this one is related, so they're like, okay,
Yeah.
you probably needed this to get back, so...
Well, it seems like a good device to have when you're going on diplomatic missions to unknown.
You can try your diplomacy check over and over and over again.
Greetings!
Well,
Hello,
that's
Dormammu. I would like to bargain.
Who says superhero movies don't resolve things through diplomacy? Anyway, so the party heads off on their trip. And it is customary for the DM to be the one that keeps the children occupied while the players are playing the session. So I was only paying half an ear's attention while...
John will have to talk.
Yes, John will have to fill in most of the details.
Yeah, so we had said previously that, all of our previous attempts had gone poorly, but then once we started practicing without Tim, everything was great.
Right.
And we were teasing him that as soon as he came back, everything was going to go badly.
Yep.
I kind of felt bad for that afterwards, because
It did.
I think Tim felt like he was to blame for the horrible fiasco that was at hand, but...
It wasn't that horrible.
It actually wasn't. We barely lost. We almost survived, or we almost made it, but we didn't quite. We
lightly crashed.
yeah, we did decently, but it was actually particularly difficult. Just the way things turned out. We got two serious threats really close together, and one of them was just the thing that made it bad is it just had such high shields, so it really took a lot of coordination to get it under control. And at the same time, in the same zone, we got unstable warheads, so someone had to be dealing with that, and so it took a 3-person coordination, and one of those persons was supposed to be coordinating the internal threat that appeared, and so in the process of that, we missed getting the internal threat, and it did damage to White Zone. We did manage to kill that other thing, but then we didn't have enough. Somehow something screwed up with the shields, and we didn't have enough energy to take out the other serious threat in White, and it combined with the damage to White took us down. But that was the case. That was the situation where Tim supercharged both me and Antpele. We actually destroyed the one serious threat one turn before we thought we did, which is good because we kept hammering on. Oh right, and people kept not being able to wiggle the mouse to turn off the screensaver, so we had to keep delaying and then we finally delayed, and then our shot that was supposed to kill the serious threat, which was already dead, managed to kill the other random threat. So that was good, but yeah. But we didn't make it. We took too much damage in the White Zone.
Yeah.
So we crash landed.
The internal threat that they didn't deal with was a skirmisher.
I remember.
They're not too tough, but they are like, alien in like combat suit that runs around shooting things. So yeah, they just didn't deal with it, and it did damage, and then went off to wherever it is skirmishers go off to. The party wishes. So anyway, the ship lands hard. It's not like a catastrophic crash, but it's still a crash. And they're in like sort of somewhat rocky desert. There's mountains and stuff just nearby. In between a couple of the giant planetary dishes. And the scan they did from orbit, in between the giant dishes, there's like traces of civilization. So there were some old roads and some old buildings and some smaller dishes. Lots of smaller dishes. But it's all been dead for 1 million years, which is a really long time.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff has eroded away or been covered with dust, and it's not really visible from orbit and all that.
Is there an atmosphere?
There is an atmosphere. It doesn't have oxygen. And Corporation Incorporated recognized that last time around, the party had a lot of trouble accomplishing their goals because they had only given them very small oxygen cylinders. So they gave them much larger oxygen cylinders this time. And they're like, never say we never do anything for you. We're going to give you large enough oxygen cylinders this time.
Everyone ended up getting hurt in the crash.
Yes.
And in particular, Flint Daniels was going on about how Space Rangers don't wear seatbelts, and I told him that that seemed like a highly illogical approach to crashing. And we had this discussion. He was like, "Yeah, we go forward," and I said, I fail to understand how throwing your lives away is going forward. And he said, "We don't throw our lives away, we throw our lives forward."
It's a great slogan for the Space Rangers.
But ultimately, after my discussion, he sheepishly put on his seatbelt, which ended up in the crash. His hand got stuck into it, and it somehow got hand is wedged in the seatbelt, and now he can't get it off. They had to cut him out of the thing.
So he's going around with a seatbelt on his hand this whole time now.
Right.
And he gets penalties because it's silly. So anyway.
An alien might not know how silly it is.
It's cross-cultural.
Yeah.
Universal.
That is a safety device on your hand, isn't it, sir?
Yeah.
No.
It's like, garble, 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 seatbelt. So, the party sets out. They crashed relatively close to where that signal was being emitted from, because that was kind of their goal all along, was get near where this faint signal is coming from. And so they set out across the desert following the signal. It wasn't very hard to figure out which direction, because it would have been a boring adventure if they didn't. And also it's just a signal. So they're making their way across the desert. I have some art up of there's a mountain range, and then beyond the mountain range there's dishes sticking up and stuff like that, because whoever lived here really loved their radio dishes. And as they're making their way across the desert, I have Chumley do a security roll, and he makes it awesomely. I don't know if he master, I think it was master. He spots that they are being followed. There's a dark figure in the distance behind them that seems to be tracking them and is ducking out of sight at every opportunity. And they notice it, and it doesn't seem to notice that they've noticed it, so they decide to split the party. Chumley and who was it? Was with Chumley? Was it Flint? I think it was Flint.
Yeah.
Yes. They split up.
Because when he leveled up, he took stealth as his thing, but because during the mission where he wasn't on the mission, he went back to the Simu 3 and helped he was supposed to convince them to stop being honorary Space Rangers, but instead he whipped them up into they're even more honorary Space Rangers, and he joined the Basimu guerrillas, and now he has guerrilla fighting training. He's like, yeah, there was there was an evil guy who had taken over, and we overthrew him. It was really great, and I rescued a princess. And someone was like, oh, was she extremely beautiful? Oh, yeah. Was she wearing a bikini? Yeah. Was she wearing a chainmail bikini? Yeah, she was wearing both, actually. But anyway, so that was what he did in his off time, and then now he's good at stealthing.
So the alien wait while the rest of the party continues on acting as a distraction. And it turns out the thing that's following them, they were all like, oh, it's Pill, isn't it? Pill's stowed away. No. It's that skirmisher they failed to kill on board the ship. It's limping after them to continue to try and kill them.
How very dedicated.
Yeah.
It's a skirmisher.
Yeah, it's a skirmisher. It has, they managed to ambush it and bonk it on the head and capture it. And so now they have a captive skirmisher. And these are things from the game part of the game that are just like, hazard robots. So like, where's the character in this? So they decide to try and interrogate it and find out what's your deal. And of course, he's not going to admit, like, I do it because the game rules require me to do it. No. He's initially extremely silent. He doesn't respond to interrogation. But I can't remember what triggered him to talk. Do you remember what the party said? I don't think it was anything in particular.
No, I mean, it was clear that they were talking about whether, like, now they had this kind of inconvenience, like, should we just kill him?
Yes.
And I was saying we couldn't just kill him in cold blood, but it certainly would be a convenient solution to the problem. But
It's not the Space Ranger way.
Turn on your blood heaters.
So at some point in that discussion, he like piped up and said, "It doesn't matter. You're all going to die here." And they're like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to die here, and you're going to die here. We're all going to die here. You have to. You shouldn't have come here.
Right.
This was the worst place for you to come."
Did he say, like, I was trying to stop you from coming here?
No, he's trying to kill them.
Okay.
Well, I guess that would stop them from coming here.
Yeah,
but also would
it did seem like that, because they asked him, like, why they always... did you know we were coming here? And I think he said no, but you could be coming here, or whatever, I don't know, so...
Basically anywhere, don't go there. But especially don't go here. I tried to communicate that through bullet, but for some reason you didn't listen. I mean, what is a clearer message than me planting a bomb in your engine? It's the universal communication of don't go here. So anyway, the party decided they wanted to try and find out more about the skirmisher.
Yeah.
Now, there had been, of course, previous skirmishers attacking ships, and sometimes the crew had even managed to defeat them.
Right.
But they'd never managed to capture one.
Right.
And whenever they did defeat one, the suit had like this built-in self-destruct thing that would gooify the body inside, so they couldn't figure out anything about them inside. So Enplay was trying to disarm the gooification thing, or at least open up the suit and find out what was in there.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I figure if she gets a famed, she can do that.
Yeah.
If she gets a master, nothing happens. If anything less than that, she triggers the gooification.
Right.
And so she got a master.
Which is like the worst outcome, because we're like, we don't want to have to deal with this guy, so we're like, we either want to like learn about him or just have him die. Having him survive uselessly is like the worst outcome.
Yep.
Because we don't want to kill him in cold blood, but we all the players are like, it'd be sure convenient if this guy just turned to goo.
So they had Emily try again, and then she gooified him the second time.
You guys are monsters.
Just keep trying until it's not inconvenient anymore.
You could have inspected his body.
Nope, it's goo now.
Right.
No, because there's no way to. The problem is you can't open the suit. That's as soon as you try to like access the suit, it turns him to goo.
Yeah.
So that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to like open up his suit and learn about him and hack his suit. And in the failure case of that is it turns him to goo. So,
Yeah.
Because that's what normally happens. That's why no one's ever like. I assume also like the suit
But I thought the
self-destructs
master
or
role
something.
was
Otherwise
enough
we'd have the
to actually
suits.
see.
Well,
Masters, nothing happens.
you wind up with some leftover pieces of suit, but the electronics are fried, and it's basically just okay, yeah, it's a.
It occurs to me, if there's no breathable atmosphere, wouldn't opening suit be killing him in cold blood anyway?
Yeah, that was sort of considered as well.
Early on, so we weren't actually at that point trying to open his suit. We were trying to hack his suit so we could scan inside, because his suit was scanned-proof and all this stuff to prevent you from scanning. And early on, we were like, oh, we'll just open his mask and see what's under there. We've never seen that. And then someone mentioned there's no breathable atmosphere, and Brian was like, oh, I was just looking forward to like him like.
So yeah, they gooped him, and then I think they actually did take the time to bury him.
I think I said, this is what kicked off some stuff, because I said I expect that you humans, despite the fact that this guy is an enemy, will logically insist on doing some sort of ritual to bury him.
Yeah. And then everyone was like, "You humans? What is that?
Aren't you a human too?"
Yeah.
Yes. I just
So they
often notice that you humans behave in emotional and logical ways that I don't share, and so I refer to, I just sometimes refer to you that way. And then they kind of tried to find out information about me, but I didn't want to talk about it. But
they try way harder with Hawking than they do with
Yeah.
Bill.
But
It's amazing.
Yoon scanned me and discovered that my brain waves were irregular. They seemed to be,
I feel like he's a Cylon.
they were trying to figure out if I was a cyborg, which
Yeah.
I wasn't. I'm totally human. But my brain waves were, they just seemed, I don't know how to describe it. I should have thought of a better way to describe it. I don't want to say too regular. It's more too, there's like parts that should be more different that are like kind of the same. It's sort of like there's like signal loss or something. I don't know, but it's not. I don't want to give you the idea of signal loss, but that's the best analogy I can think of. There's something weird. So she that's all I told her. They haven't figured anything out, but I said that she could analyze them once she gets back home because she recorded them. So, but for now, all they know is what I said and how I'm behaving completely differently.
Again.
Yeah.
It's been stamped.
Much more Spocky.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the party, I don't know if they actually buried him or not. Whatever. It's like he's dead. Move on. They moved on.
I think they incinerated him in the end because he was already pretty much incinerated.
I wonder how. There's no oxygen.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know.
Space fire.
Actually, I'm not
Space
sure
fire.
because he basically was already. I assume if it could be incinerated, it was probably already wrecked. So
Yeah.
I don't know what they did.
Yeah.
Well, in a space flamethrower
Yeah.
that injects oxygen in the extreme. It's
Yeah. It doesn't really matter.
Lieutenant
laser.
Daniels can make a fire anywhere. That's after all, his name is Flint.
So the party moves on, and they reach the source of the weak signal. There's the ancient million-year-old ruins of some kind of village, and I show a picture of the village, and there's a bunch of these little buildings, and each one has a giant radio dish on it, and they're all
A giant radio dish for every family.
for every family, yes, and of course they're all in extreme states of ruin.
Right.
And that was about where the session ran out of time, so we ended it there. They have reached Radio Village on the radio planet, where everything's radio.
The Space Rangers are heroes, explorers, diplomats, scientists, the best of the best. We do not wear seatbelts. It's an insult to the dignity of the Corps.
Engineering officer's log. You know, last time we went to a desert, it was very bad for me. It's a good thing I have my inhaler, otherwise I'd be completely freaking out right now. In fact, I was at first. But I mean, at least the sky's not purple, at least there's not rivers here that stink like vinegar. I haven't seen any weird aliens without mouths, and like, that can fly with telekinesis, so okay. This might not be so bad. Of course, there was that guy who tried to kill us on the ship, and he was like, we're all gonna die. And we were like, why? I don't know, you're gonna die. It's completely waste of time. I mean, I didn't mean to kill him, but he kind of killed himself with his self-destruct crap, so I don't know. I didn't want to be pursuing this, well, I'm not allowed to say that word, but didn't want to have anything to do with that anymore. And yet, here we are. I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. Gotta be careful, though.
Flex officer's log. I am concerned that Sabine is allowing her emotions to harm her better judgment and make illogical decisions. However, it does seem like she understands her own weakness and is taking steps to mitigate it. So that is probably the best I can expect from humans. And as such, I do feel some respect for that course of action.
Medical officer's log number 11. We have landed on this planet, and we have all sustained injuries. I managed to patch Chumley up, so he's operating unharmed, but I can't seem to get the seatbelt off of Flint. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Seatbelts are seatbelts. Why is this one stuck on his finger? I don't know. I don't know.
Security officer's log, Lieutenant Chumley. Let me see. Oh, that Dr. Yoon is a prime article. You know, when those damn muttonhead battle bots, they crawled all over me during the descent. Like, literally, crawled all over me. It was uncomfortable is what it was. Anyway, my Colquhoun was wretched by the thing, and that Dr. Yoon, what a prime article. You know, she had me lie bung upwards, of course, and then she took my jolly knob and gave it a twist. And now I'm bully trapped. It was delightful. I could not believe the difference. I wonder if she went first to school for that. Oh, what a good trick.